Today we will talk about a book that has taught millions of people to find hope and meaning even in difficult situations. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is not just a book, but an inspirational journey of the human spirit. In this summary, we will understand the 10 most important lessons of this powerful book in very simple so that you too can find meaning and purpose in your life. So let's start this deep and meaningful journey. Lesson 1. Survival through meaning. Friends, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning teaches us a very important lesson that even in the most difficult situations, a human being can find meaning. And this meaning gives him the strength to survive. Frankl himself was in a concentration camp where he saw countless people enduring extreme suffering. He observed that those who were connected to a purpose, some meaning, had a higher chance of surviving. Now, what is this meaning actually? It is the purpose of your life, your values, the thing that motivates you to wake up in the morning. It does not have to be something big or grand. It can also be small things like loving someone, doing something you like, or having a hope for the future. Frankl observed in the camp that those who had a hope for the future, like the hope of seeing their wife again, or the dream of publishing their book, were stronger and survived better. He said a very important thing: he who has a why to live can endure any how. This means that if you have a strong purpose in your life, you can face any difficulty. This purpose gives you an internal strength, a strength that does not let you give up. For Frankl, one of the reasons to survive in the camp was to rewrite his book, which was taken away from him when he came to the camp. This was a meaningful goal that gave him hope even in difficult situations. So friends, from this lesson we learn that finding meaning is not just a philosophical concept, but it is also a survival mechanism. When we find meaning in our lives, we become more resilient to facing difficulties. Just like an anchor keeps a boat steady, meaning keeps us steady in life's storms. That's why it's so important to find meaning in your life. Lesson 2. The importance of attitude. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about how meaning gives us the strength to survive in difficult situations. Now we will talk about another important thing that is under our control, no matter how bad the situation is: our attitude. Viktor Frankl says that everything can be taken away from us except one thing: the freedom to choose your attitude in any situation. In the concentration camp, Frankl observed that there were some people who managed to maintain their mental and spiritual freedom even though their physical freedom was taken away from them. These people took refuge in their imagination, their memories, and their values. They found beauty and meaning even in small moments, like watching a sunset or having a meaningful conversation with another prisoner. Frankl also observed that there were some prisoners who helped others, shared their food, and encouraged others. This shows that even in extreme difficulties, a person can do something for others. And this is what gives him a sense of purpose. Frankl says that it is our attitude that decides how we will experience a situation. We can see the same situation in a negative or positive way. It is our choice. He made a very powerful statement: when we cannot change the situation, we have to change ourselves. This means that when things happen beyond our control, we have to adjust our attitude. We have to decide how we will respond to that situation. This lesson teaches us that we are not victims of our circumstances, but we are the architects of our responses. We can choose how we will see and respond to any situation. Just like a compass always points north, our attitude can guide us in the right direction, no matter how many difficulties lie in the way. That's why it's important to keep your attitude positive and hopeful. Lesson 3. The will to meaning. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about the power of attitude, how we can face difficult situations by choosing our attitude. Now we will talk about another important human drive, the will to meaning. Viktor Frankl says that the most basic motivation of a human being is not pleasure or power, but finding meaning. We all want a purpose, a significance in our lives. This is an inner drive that moves us forward and gives us a reason to live. Frankl has based his therapy, Logotherapy, on this principle. The focus of Logotherapy is to help people find meaning in their lives. This therapy believes that when people find meaning in their lives, they are able to handle their problems more effectively. Now, how does this will to meaning actually work? Frankl says that meaning can come from three sources. First, creating or doing something, such as working, completing a project, or expressing yourself in an art form. Second, experiencing or loving something, such as forming a deep relationship with someone, enjoying the beauty of nature, or appreciating a piece of art. And third, when we face an unavoidable suffering, we can find meaning in the suffering, such as learning from the situation, growing from it, or helping others. Frankl observed in concentration camps that those who found meaning in their suffering were more resilient. They saw their situation as an opportunity to test their strengths, to develop their character. This lesson teaches us that meaning is a fundamental need in our lives. When we find meaning in our lives, we live more fulfilled and purposeful lives. Just like a plant needs sunlight and water to grow, humans need meaning to thrive. That's why it's so important to find meaning in your life. And this meaning can be different for everyone. Lesson 4. The freedom to find meaning. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about the will to meaning, that is, our inner drive to find meaning. Now we will talk about the freedom that helps us find this meaning, the freedom to find meaning. Viktor Frankl says that everything can be taken away from us, except one thing, the freedom to choose your attitude in any situation, the freedom to choose your path in any way. This freedom gives us the power to decide how we will respond to a situation, what values we will follow in our life, and what meaning we will find in our life. In the concentration camp, Frankl saw that the prisoners had very limited external freedom. Their physical movements, their actions, everything was being controlled. But they had an internal freedom, a freedom that no one could take away from them. The freedom to control their thoughts, the freedom to use their imagination, and the freedom to live according to their values. Frankl observed that some prisoners used this internal freedom to find meaning even in difficult situations. They found beauty and joy in small moments, and they created a sense of purpose by helping others. This lesson teaches us that freedom does not depend only on external circumstances, but it is also an internal state. We can experience freedom in any situation by controlling our thoughts and attitude. This freedom gives us the choice of what meaning we will find in our life, and this meaning gives us the strength to face difficult situations. Frankl says that it is our responsibility to use our freedom to find meaning in our lives. No one else will do this for us. We ourselves have to decide what is important in our lives, and we have to focus on that. Just like a sailor is needed to steer a boat, we have to use our freedom to steer our lives. Therefore, it is very important to recognize and use our internal freedom. Lesson 5. Meaning in suffering. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about the freedom that helps us find meaning. Now we will talk about another very deep and challenging topic, meaning in suffering. From the experiences of Viktor Frankl, we learn that suffering is an inevitable part of life. We all go through some kind of suffering in our lives, whether it is physical, emotional, or mental. But Frankl says that suffering can also have a meaning. When we face an unavoidable suffering, we have a unique opportunity to find meaning in that situation, to learn something from it, to grow from it. In the concentration camp, Frankl observed that the prisoners found meaning in their suffering in different ways. Some people discovered their spiritual strength, some found a sense of purpose by helping others, and some found solace in their imagination and memories. Frankl says that it is our choice how we respond to our suffering. We can see it as a burden, or we can see it as an opportunity to develop our character, reassess our values, and give our lives a new direction. He has a very famous quote, "When we cannot change the situation, we have to change ourselves." This means that when we cannot avoid a difficult situation, we have to change our attitude, find meaning in that situation. This lesson teaches us that suffering is not meaningless. It can be an important part of our life if we look at it from the right perspective. Just like a metal becomes stronger after being heated in fire, suffering can make us stronger too if we learn something from it and grow from it. So when we face suffering, we should remember that there can be a meaning hidden in it, and it is our responsibility to find that meaning. Lesson 6. The danger of meaninglessness. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about how meaning can be found even in suffering. Now we will talk about its opposite, the danger of meaninglessness. Viktor Frankl says that when a person is unable to find meaning in his life, he goes into a state of existential frustration, a state where he starts feeling that his life is meaningless and purposeless. This is a very dangerous state because it can lead to depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Frankl saw many such patients in his practice who were unable to find meaning in their lives, and due to this, they were struggling with many types of mental health problems. He named this condition neurogenic neurosis, which is a neurosis that originates from spiritual problems rather than psychological ones. Now, what is this meaninglessness actually? This is not having any purpose, no direction, no goal in your life. This is feeling that your life has no significance, that whatever you do has no meaning. Frankl says that this is a very common problem in modern society, where people have a lot of material wealth but lack spiritual values and meaning. He called this condition existential vacuum, a state where people feel an emptiness, a void in their lives. This lesson teaches us that meaning is as important for our mental health as it is for physical health. When we are unable to find meaning in our lives, we become sick, a spiritual illness. Just like a plant withers away without sunlight, a human being withers away without meaning. Therefore, it is very important to find meaning in your life, not only to be happy, but also to be healthy. We must identify our values, set our goals, and create a purpose in our lives. Lesson 7. The meaning of life is conditional. Friends, in the last lesson, we saw how dangerous meaninglessness can be. Now we will talk about another important concept. The meaning of life is conditional. Viktor Frankl says that there is no universal, predetermined meaning of life. Rather, meaning is different for every individual, for every moment, and for every situation. This is a very crucial understanding because it makes us realize that meaning is not something that we will get from somewhere outside, but it is something that we have to create ourselves according to our circumstances. Frankl says that we should not ask, what is the meaning of life? Rather, we should ask, what is the meaning of my life in this moment? This is a shift in perspective that gives us power. This makes us realize that we are the creators of our lives, we are the architects of our own destiny. In the concentration camp, Frankl observed that the prisoners found different meanings in different situations. Some found solace in memories of their family, some found hope in dreams of their future, and some found a sense of purpose by helping others. This shows that meaning is flexible. It can change with our situation. Frankl says that meaning can be found in three main ways: by creating or doing something, by experiencing or loving someone, and by taking an attitude towards unavoidable suffering. These three ways give us the choice of how we will find meaning in our lives, no matter what the situation. This lesson teaches us that we should not expect a specific meaning from life, but rather we should be ready to find meaning in every moment. Just like an artist creates a new painting on every canvas, we have to create a new meaning of our life in every moment. Therefore, it is very important to live every moment of our life consciously and find meaning in it. Lesson 8. The importance of responsibility. Friends, in the last lesson we saw that the meaning of life is conditional and can be different for every moment. Now we will talk about another crucial concept, the importance of responsibility. Viktor Frankl says that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. When we get freedom, responsibility also comes with it. We have to realize that we are responsible for our life, for our actions, and for our decisions. This is a very important realization because it takes us out of the victim mentality and gives us the power to take control of our life. Frankl says that one of the main goals of logotherapy is to make people aware of their responsibility. When people understand that they are responsible for their life, they are able to handle their problems more effectively and find meaning in their life. Now, what does this responsibility actually mean? It is accepting that we are responsible for the consequences of our choices. It is understanding that we cannot blame our situation, but we have to look at how we respond to that situation. In the concentration camp, Frankl observed that the prisoners had very limited choices, but still they had a choice to choose their attitude to maintain their inner freedom. This shows that responsibility is not limited to external actions, but it also applies to internal attitudes and choices. Frankl says that every situation presents us with a unique question, and our responsibility is to give the right answer to that question according to our values and our conscience. This lesson teaches us that we are not passive observers of our lives, but active participants. We shape our lives through our choices, and we must take responsibility for our choices. Just like a captain is responsible for his ship, we are responsible for our lives. Therefore, it is very important to accept our responsibility and take control of our lives. Lesson 9. Supermeaning. Friends, in the last lesson we discussed the importance of responsibility. Now we will talk about a concept that is a little philosophical, but very inspiring: supermeaning. Viktor Frankl says that the meaning of life is conditional, different for every moment. But there is also an ultimate meaning that is beyond our human understanding. This is what he calls supermeaning. This is a meaning that gives us hope, even when we do not see any meaning in our situation. This is a belief that our life has a higher purpose, even if we cannot understand it completely. Frankl says that this supermeaning may be related to religion or spirituality, but it is not necessary. It can also be a general belief that the universe is a meaningful place and our life also has a significance. Now, how does this supermeaning actually work? When we face difficult situations and we don't see any meaning in our situation, we can find solace and hope by believing in this supermeaning. It makes us realize that our suffering is not meaningless, but that it may have a higher purpose, even if we cannot understand it right now. In the concentration camps, Frankl observed that some prisoners had very strong faith in religion, and this faith gave them hope even in extreme suffering. This shows that supermeaning can provide us with an internal strength and resilience in difficult situations. Frankl says that this supermeaning also teaches us that we should live every moment of our life fully, because every moment is a unique opportunity, an opportunity for a meaningful experience. This lesson teaches us that we should not focus only on our immediate circumstances, but should have a broader perspective, a perspective that makes us realize that our life has a higher purpose, a meaning that is beyond our understanding. Just like a map guides us to our destination, supermeaning can guide us in life's journey, even if we cannot understand the full meaning of that journey. Therefore, believing in supermeaning can give us hope and inspiration. Lesson 10. The transitivity of life. Friends, in the last lesson we talked about supermeaning, an ultimate meaning that is beyond our understanding. Now we will talk about another important aspect that is closely related to meaning and suffering, the transitoriness of life. Viktor Frankl says that life is not permanent, it is a flow, a continuous change. Every moment is unique, and once the moment is gone, it will never come back. This realization teaches us that we should live every moment fully, appreciate it, because this moment will never come back again. Frankl says that it is this transitoriness that makes life so precious. If life were permanent, then perhaps we would not value it. This realization also teaches us that we should keep a balanced perspective on the past, present, and future of our life. We should not get stuck in the regrets of the past. We should not get lost in the anxiety of the future, but rather we should be fully present in the present moment. In the concentration camps, Frankl observed that the prisoners had the realization that their lives were very uncertain, that they could die at any moment. This realization taught them how important every moment is, and motivated them to find meaning and joy in even the smallest moments of their lives. Frankl says that this transitoriness also teaches us that we must accept our responsibility and create meaning in our lives, because we do not have much time. We should use our talents, follow our passions, and make a meaningful contribution to our lives. This lesson teaches us that life is a journey and experience, and we should enjoy this journey fully with all its ups and downs. Just like a river keeps flowing, life also keeps flowing, and we should align with this flow. Therefore, it is very important to live every moment consciously, appreciate it, and find meaning in it. This is the essence of the transience of life. So friends, these were the 10 powerful lessons from Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. We saw how concepts like meaning, attitude, responsibility, and the transitoriness of life can help us find hope and purpose even in difficult situations. This is not just a summary of a book, but a guide to living a meaningful life. Hope you liked this summary and learned something new. If you liked this summary, please like and share it. See you in the next summary. Till then, keep finding the meaning of your life.